Hey, what's up, everyone? We are live on playback. This is Zinger Part 2. My name is Zan Bando. Happy Sunday morning to you all, wherever you may be watching or listening from. We are live on playback. We are live on Kick. We are live on Twitch. We are also live on my YouTube channel right now, youtube.com/ZanBando99. You want to go subscribe, as all playback streams will be simulcast over there on YouTube. So if you want to subscribe, putting out a lot more content these days. Again, Zan Zinger Part 2 is currently live on my YouTube channel as we speak. Again, that's youtube.com/ZanBando99. And of course, a few quick reminders. This show is presented by Playback. Um, Obviously, Playback is the one that allows us to put these on, so shout out to them. For those of you who've never heard of it, it's basically a platform where you can watch live sports from the comfort of your own home, but virtually with your friends, and you can watch the same stream at the same time. Never watch a game alone again. So, NBA, WNBA, Major League Baseball, NFL Red Zone every Sunday, which I'll do a quick programming note about that, about what's going to be expected there for those of you who have never known about this element of it, and so much more. So, with that being said, right after me, I precede all the crazy content that comes out on this or in this room every Sunday. So, there's me first, which is 30 minutes of pretty much recapping and all that stuff. If you guys have watched this stream before, you know what this is. It's everything that happened yesterday up into one little ball, and it's disseminated out today. And it's basically my reaction to everything. Unfortunately, um, I'm not going to be able to react live to the college football playoff rankings because of, excuse me, because of the time that this goes on until, or maybe I'll make an exception, and maybe we will watch the beginning of it based on what time it is. But nonetheless, yeah. So anyway, I lost track there. But right after me, there's Gridiron Gurus. It's Grant Winsauer, Michael Rapolo, and Ben Cruz. That's for an hour. That previews all the NFL games, fantasy angles, injury news, last minute predictions, reminders of who the football forecast crew is taking this week, which I'll remind you of my survivors in just a little bit. But they go through the full slate, and then that leads into NFL Red Zone, which is usually Nick Morganson, Christy Wilson, and whoever else can make the stream. That's from 1 Eastern to 7 Eastern. You may see me pop in. I'm not so sure, just because I have a bunch of Fallout work to do relating to the Big Ten Championship that was last night, and of course the UFC event from Vegas that was the final pay-per-view of the year and the final pay-per-view ever in the United States, because the UFC is no longer on pay-per-view beginning in about a month or so. They'll be on Paramount Plus for one flat subscription fee, with ads or no ads, and there will be no more pay-per-view ever again, at least in the United States, for the next 7 years. And I'm sure even after the 7-year deal is over, there's not going to be pay-per-view ever again for the UFC. I don't think. That's my opinion, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But let's get into the nuts and bolts here. Let's start with the Big Ten Championship game, and I want to be fully transparent here. So I was teasing a major announcement earlier in the week on the show, and I guess I can reveal what it is now because it's already over. Yours truly was supposed to be in attendance in Indianapolis last night to watch the eventual upset, which was Indiana knocking off the Ohio State Buckeyes, the number one Ohio State Buckeyes, 13-10 at Lucas Oil Stadium. I was supposed to be there for one of the biggest moments, not just in college football, but in sports history. If you would have told me 2 years ago that an undefeated Indiana Hoosiers team would beat Ohio State in the college football playoff, I think I would have laughed in your face. Unfortunately, There was a bunch of snow last night, and due to just I guess life circumstances, and you can thank my dad for that. He's let's just say this: he's very busy in the wintertime. I unfortunately couldn't make the drive to Indianapolis, so I was at home in this room, in fact, where I usually stream these from, watching Indiana beat Ohio State. So that was full disclosure. Was supposed to be the Big Ten championship game last night. Did not happen, but still targeting a bowl game later this month is the proposed plan. And speaking of, according to multiple reports, it looks like Illinois will be in the Music City Bowl. It's a matter of who Illinois is going to play. Okay, I don't know what just happened there. I didn't touch anything. But nonetheless, though, let's get into it. So Indiana beats Ohio State and wins the Big Ten championship. First Big Ten title since 1967. The first win against Ohio State since 1988. Major, major, major upset here. One of the biggest upsets I've ever seen. Let's take a look at the final box score because I think I have it up still from last night. Let me look. No, no, maybe I do not. Nonetheless, though, I have it in my inbox, though, I think. Hang on. All right, let's find it. Posted last night. There it is. Right. No problem. Okay, let's take a look at the final game book here. So, the game was 3 hours and 6 minutes, as I just alluded to. Um, Indiana won 13-10. Officially from the NCAA, attendance 68,214 was the number. Let's see. Let's take a look at some numbers from the game. Um, what's in the first quarter, right? Where's the drive chart? Range. Okay. Um. All right. So, story of this game was pretty much Ohio State's miscues versus Indiana's execution. Jaden Fielding is a prime example of that. He had a chance to tie the game at 13, missed a field goal wide left with under 5 minutes to go. To try to tie the game, couldn't do it. Both teams had the same number of first downs. Let's see. Indiana ran the ball well. Um, Indiana ran the ball really well. Let's see. They had 118 rushing attempts. Ohio State only had 58 in this game. Um, what else is there from this? Indiana gained Ohio State offensively 340 to 322. Oh, this might be easier. Okay, so let's see here. What was the okay? Fernando Mendoza. Let's take a look at his numbers. All right, let's take a look here. Fernando Mendoza was 15 of 23 with an interception, 222 yards and one touchdown. Um, let's see. Kaylon Black had um Kaylon Black had um 4.3 yards a carry, Roman Hemby had an interesting game too. He had 52 yards on the ground. But Charlie Becker was the story in this game. 6 catches or 7 targets for 126 yards. His biggest one being 51 yards. Surratt had a touchdown in the game. Julian Zain played pretty well, but the big issue though was that he was sacked 5 times, and Fernando Mendoza was only sacked 3 times. That was disappointing. Jeremiah Smith still had a whale of a day, 144 yards through the air, could not find the end zone. Cardinal Tate did. That was Ohio State's lone touchdown of the evening. Um, but yeah, I mean, just overall, one of these games that people are going to be talking about for a long time because Kurt Signetti is backing up everything he's saying. Now it's undeniable. Now you can't say, oh, Indiana's overrated, or oh, Indiana isn't that good, or oh, they just got lucky that they beat Ohio State. No, 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 no. This team is legit. This team is physical. This team is nasty. This team beats you in a lot of different ways on the outside for sure. And then defensively, they made Julian Sayin look lost. I mean, Julian Sayin so far in his Ohio State career, very short sample size as a starter. Only I think it's 13 games now. Um, you know, he just wasn't himself. I mean, he didn't play anywhere close to how he did against Michigan whatsoever. He wasn't finding open receivers. They just weren't in an offensive flow until that 4th and 2 where they went for it and they didn't get it late in the game. It looked like Ohio State was having its best drive of the game, and it wasn't even close. I mean, they were moving the ball down the field like it was nothing. Guys were getting open. They were running the ball really well. It was a really efficient effort by Ohio State to that point in the game. But Indiana, for whatever reason, just always seemed to have a play. They always seemed to have something where it was like, okay, they have a chance, and they seized every opportunity they had. When they had the ball, they didn't take their foot off the gas, and they could have kept the ball, but they punted it back to Ohio State, and Ohio State had so little time left on the clock that they couldn't go down to get into field goal range to try to tie it. So just overall, though, a historic win for the program, biggest win in program history. I can say that with certainty. That's not an opinion now. That is a fact. I mean, to beat the number one team in the nation, undefeated, defending national champions, hadn't lost a game in over a year. They'd only lost 2 games. They'd lost 2 games in a span of 12 months to Oregon in the regular season and Michigan, and that was it. And now Indiana looks like, barring anything crazy, which I don't think we're gonna get, barring anything crazy, Indiana looks to me like they will be the number one team in the country. And I think that that is unbelievable, Rose Bowl bound. The question is, where does Ohio State go from here? I think Ohio State's going to be fine. Ryan Day even admitted it after the game. They're not making any excuses for why they lost. They know what they need to fix. And I think they're about to go on another interesting run. I mean, it depends on who they get. It depends on what seed they get. But that team is good enough to at least win 2 games, maybe even 3 games in this tournament. So we're gonna find out in 40 minutes or so who plays who and where, and it's gonna be interesting to see where Ohio State ends up. If a rematch between these two could happen in the national championship, assuming that they're on opposite sides of the bracket, that would be a fascinating rematch because, not to destroy Indiana fans or anything, but I think if Ohio State plays them again, Ohio State wins. I think they're the better team roster wise. I mean, and I think it's just pretty simple. I think Indiana they're a great team. I don't think they're better than Ohio State, though, just player for player, position for position. To me, they were just better last night. And if you put those two teams on the field 100 times, I think it's a very split result. I think 50 games, um, Ohio State wins, and the other 50 Indiana wins. So I don't know. What I do know is this, though. What I do know is this. Sports are unbelievable because you can get so many amazing moments in one night. Another prime example, UFC 323 last night, the final pay-per-view ever, the final pay-per-view ever um in the ESPN era in the United States had not one but two new champions crowned. Peter Yan, the new UFC bantamweight champion again, the second time he's won the belt, and the youngest fighter, the second youngest fighter ever, the first fighter born in the 2000s, Joshua Van, as unfortunate as it was, injures Alexandre Pantoja, complete freak accident, to win the UFC flyweight title. And and yeah, I mean, I think Jan is just he's legit. I mean, he is a sambo wrestler that is nasty. His boxing is crisp. He made Marab confused out there. I mean, it was a great, great performance by Jan. Completely different than the rematch. Marab couldn't really do what he wanted against him. And as Jan said this week in the press conference, he wasn't 100% ready to go. And in this fight, it was clear that there were no nagging injuries as far as we're concerned. So I thought it was a great fight. I thought it was one of those where it could have gone either way in terms of who people were picking to win. But goddamn, Peter Yan looked awesome. Um, I think a rematch makes a lot of sense because Marab, obviously was the champion for a long time and it's 1-1 now. So I think there's a storyline there. Could you give Peter Yan, an Umar Nurmagomedov if you wanted or something like that? Sure, sure. Why not? It doesn't hurt, but the fight that the UFC could sell and they could sell well in Q2 of 26 would be that rematch somewhere internationally. I don't think they do it in Vegas. I think they do it probably somewhere in Russia, or they would do it in, who knows, England, France. I don't think they would do it in Georgia. I don't see them going to Georgia in 26, but I could be wrong. I just think somewhere international would make sense for a third fight between those two. And I don't know who I would pick in a third fight if those two were to fight. But I will tell you this. Those are the two best bantamweights in the world, in my opinion. The two who fought last night. And Jan is a beast. He's a beast. And hey, I see a lot of people giving Marab shit for taking a fight, right after beating Corey Sandhagen and not resting until 26. I mean, do you guys realize how hard it is in this day and age, especially to chase UFC history? He had a real chance to do something unbelievable, and he came up a little bit short. Do you fault the guy for being in the health position in order to even take a fourth fight? Because a lot of people wouldn't have done what he did. So I think mad props to Marab. He's a stud. Yeah, if people don't like Marab, something's wrong. And Peter Yan is a beast. And I'm sorry, I hate to say this. I understand Joshua Van just became the new champion, but I didn't see enough for how short that fight was to tell me that a rematch would be any more the same than what this first fight was, because I don't think it would. I think a healthy Pantoja gives him a lot of problems, and that fight was just getting started. So I think for people saying out there, oh, Pantoja was exposed, or the crazy take that Dominic Cruz had, about how he should have continued to fight, just wacky, wacky stuff. I don't understand it, but nonetheless, we went 6-7-1 last night. Jack went 9-4-1 on the second to last UFC event of the year. We will preview and pick UFC Fight Night this coming Thursday, the last UFC event of the year. So it should be a fun time on the MMA Outsiders. But that's going to do it, though, for that part of the show. All right, let's move on to the final few topics very, very briefly here. Illinois takes down Tennessee, wins the Qatar guitar is what I meant to say, the instrument. Wins the guitar 75-63, I think is what it was, 75-62. Nonetheless, huge win for Illinois. Some big shots late down the stretch. Stojakovic couldn't get the dunk to go, but it is what it is. Huge win on the road. Exacting revenge from a year ago when Tennessee was number one. I was there. It came to Champaign, and Illinois lost on a heartbreaker with a couple seconds left. But nonetheless, though, great win for Illinois, and a big month of December coming up. They have their Big Ten home opener, and Big Ten opener period against Nebraska a week from or next Saturday in Champaign, which, barring weather, I might actually be at that one myself. But nonetheless, though, huge win for Illinois. I wanted to get that briefly out of the way. All right, a couple minutes to go. Let's go over NFL survivors if we can. Let's do that. All right, let's do this. Here we go. Wasn't popping up correctly for just a second. All right, going into Sunday, we are 125-69 for the season. On Bando's Blitz, we gave you a couple survivors, but I will give you the rest. Buffalo over Cincinnati, Cleveland over Tennessee, Minnesota over Washington, Miami over the Jets, Tampa Bay over the New Orleans Saints, the Colts over the Jaguars, the Ravens over the Steelers, Denver over Vegas, the Packers over the Bears. That may be a surprise to some, but I just think Green Bay at home is a different team. And even though the Bears won in Week 18 this past year, that was a non-starting Green Bay team in that game, and it was a Bears team that had nothing to play for other than pride. So, give me the Packers. But I would not be surprised if the Bears won. If the Bears won, it's undeniable that the Bears would have a legit chance to win out. Nonetheless, give me give me the Packers. But could I see the Bears covering? Yes. But for football forecast purposes, we took the over. So hopefully the over hits on that. Um, Rams over the Cardinals, Chiefs over the Texans, and the Eagles over the Chargers. All right, so those are my NFL survivors. Just to give you full transparency on how I did this past week, I went 11-5 straight up, and I went 500 against the spread. All right, let's take a look at something else really quick. Oh shit. Well, in college football, we missed picking all of the conference championship games in week 15 for Yahoo. It's disappointing. I swore I had done so. Let's take a look at ESPN because we have ESPN picks that we did do. So let's take a look at those. Okay, for the season on ESPN, we finished 66-63 for the year, and we finished a game below 500 against the spread at 69-70. These were still good enough for 74% and 76.5% respectively. I don't know what just happened there, but let me go over what I was just saying. I don't know who keeps doing that. That was not me who did that. I don't know who keeps um turning my shit off. But nonetheless, as I was alluding to, we were a game below 500 against the spread in college football. Um, and we went three above 500 straight up in college football for ESPN. So there's that as well. And that is a wrap for the, I guess, college football season, for the regular season, that is. And let me just calculate really quick because I'm sure those guys will want to know too. Um, Wait, that's the wrong document. One last thing to just review. Give me a second here. Okay, so we didn't do all that good on predictions as a crew. Let's see how I did at least, because let's talk about me here. So yeah, we did pretty bad. I think I lost every pick on this. Virginia didn't cover. Ohio State didn't cover. Alabama didn't cover. BYU didn't cover. It was a disaster. Complete and utter disaster. But nonetheless, though, that's going to do it for Zain Zinger Part 2. I'm a little bit tired. I have a lot that I have to get done today as well as watch football. But until next week, I hope you have a good rest of your day. We will be back with episode 70, final episode in the month of December, the final episode of the 2025 Panthers breakdown season before best ofs and all that other stuff. But until next week, I will see you guys soon, and have a good one. Thanks again.